Yo, what's up, everybody? And welcome once again to the UnLearnT podcast. I'm your host, Ruth Abigail, aka RA.
What's up, people? It's your girl, Jaquita.
This is the podcast that is helping you gain the courage to change your mind so that you can experience more freedom. And now I'm going to pass it to Jaquita.
Listen, guys, all right? Listen, okay, it's going to be a great time. We are set for a wonderful show. Today, we are actually going to be interviewing Miss Ruth Abigail Gardner, okay? Talking about her relationship journey, and what her experiences were in choosing the right person as a leader, okay? So, when I think about kind of like having a person, right? The older I've gotten in my 30s, like the more I think about like how he has to be the right one.
Sure.
I feel like, in your 20s, like your list is a little more general. Like, hey, want him to love God, love, his community, be a leader, be a provider, really general things. But as I've gotten older into these middle adult years, right, I feel like I've gotten a little bit more specific in what I'm looking for because I know more about me, right? And so Ruth Abigail is a person who was single for a number of years, right?
True.
And then found the one, my brother, right? And he is just the absolute perfect match for her. So want to just kind of dig a little bit deeper into that journey and see what gems we can unearth. All right.
The gems.
The gems. I want to pull them out. Okay.
Alrighty.
All right, we are on a treasure hunt. All right, so let's see what we get. So, Ruth Abigail, why don't you start off by, I really want to learn. You're not single. Just want to be clear about that. We're going to state that plainly.
Not single.
Okay, she's taken off the market. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so that's for you, Ty. That's for you.
Sure.
But I do want to travel back to some of your single years, and just thinking about, we talk a lot on our podcast about kind of the different ways we see leadership between our young adult years and our middle adult years. But I want you to start from single middle adult, right? So think early 30s. What was that time period like for you? As you felt like you were just kind of like waiting on that person? What was the waiting season like for you? And especially as you were also growing as a leader, but also growing in waiting.
First of all, I'd like to acknowledge that this is very weird. And although, I participated in the idea of doing this, I somewhat regret it a little bit. Okay, so
she almost came up with the idea, so I don't know why she's tripping.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. That was good in theory. Okay. So single journey, 30s. Okay. Where was I at 30? Okay, let's see. I think I was so in that time for me, it really was about, I think I was working on my finances a lot personally. Like that was kind of a big goal of mine, was to get out of debt.
Yeah.
And so I was in the middle of that journey and I was really focused on that. Like I was just like, hey, I want to get out of debt. I was very focused, right?
Really focused.
I was really
focused.
and I said I want to be out of debt by the time I'm 31, and which I did. And then I ended up
for that, man.
Thank you.
It's a lot of people who want to be right where you at. So that's awesome.
It's a good place to be. I ain't gonna lie about it. So did that, and then I moved in with my parents, and which was weird because I moved in with my parents to save money to buy a house. I ended up staying there twice as long as I needed to because, or as I wanted to, because my car went out and I had to buy a new car before I did the house.
Oh, yeah.
So I ended up staying there for like 2 years as opposed to like 1. So that was weird. So I had to kind of like wrestle with that a little bit. Like, here I am, like early 30s, and I moved back in with my parents. That was not the plan, right? And then during that time, I also started doing some, online dating. We're not there, but that's how that transitioned. I was, kind of all in my career. I was doing training for youth workers at that time. We were also growing Angel Street at that time. And I was doing some organizing work with an organization like of social justice. I was doing a lot of that. Like I was doing a lot of working, a lot of community stuff. And that's what my life was like. And I really wasn't, I don't think I was super focused on dating or finding somebody at that time.
You know, it's funny because Ruth Abigail's approach, like toward the beginning of every year, Ruth Abigail, Ruth and Joy would literally be on the phone every single year. And Ruth Abigail would be like, guys, 2021,
yeah,
right, is our year.
Absolutely.
Like literally every year she was saying that. And then for the rest of the year, she wasn't focused on it. You know, like we, you know, we would bring it up occasionally, like, hey guys, remember, this is our year, right? And then, but Ruth, you know, I would be over here, you know, trying to find somebody, and Ruth was so like focused on her goals and what she wanted to accomplish, which, you know, I think is amazing. So I think kind of based off of what you just said, like, can you pinpoint just kind of in those early 30s, like, what were your priorities? Like, just name them out. What were kind of like the set priorities of what you were pursuing during that season of your life?
Getting out of debt,
Mm-hmm.
buying a house,
yeah,
and just doing well at my work.
Mm.
Those were my priorities, really. Like, and I think, you know, on the relationship side was really like just being a great friend, and being a great daughter, especially since I was living at the house. Right, I was trying to, like, you know,
I
figure
live
that
here,
out. Yeah,
trying to, you know, make sure everybody's good.
I'm trying to do that.
Yeah.
I also had a stick because I started a blog, and I think this is also when my like,
Oh
what,
yeah, Mind to Ink.
Yeah, Mind to Ink. So I started doing like this kind of more public facing communication around that time. And I started a blog called Single 30 and Living at Home. Do you remember that?
Girl, yeah, you
And I had a moment where, I mean, I wrote for like a few days. I just wrote. I came home and just wrote. And that was kind of my entryway into communicating with the public. So I started this blog that kind of chronicled where I was at that season of my life.
When I tell you I forgot about that.
Man, I did too, until I just literally just now. Like, I was like, dang.
Yeah.
I was
Ruth
single,
always had a heart
31,
for the
living at
people.
home. And that was like,
I remember, I specifically remember us having a conversation like, we're gonna make a movie, guys.
oh,
like, yes.
That's
we
crazy.
were like, you know, our experience is so unique.
Yeah. I really, so like that was also something I was focused on, was like kind of where's my creativity leading me right now? And writing was just something I was just into.
But okay, so that's really cool. You know, I think, you know, I just said something and I'm going to not retract it, but kind of edit it a little bit, because I think at that time we also had this mindset of, you know, there are just so few people who are experiencing what we are experiencing. And not so few people who are unmarried, but so few people, you know, Ruth Abigail and I kind of were in a similar boat of, we did not date a lot.
Right.
You know,
Very
right.
true.
There were no real past relationships.
Yeah.
You know, and by not a lot, I mean not at all.
That's very true. Like, you know, that's very true.
And at the time, I really thought, I was like, this is a really unique experience. But as I have talked with other middle adults, you know, we are not out here in these streets. You know, I think it's a different experience, especially for Black women. You know, I feel like we have really become kind of not isolated, but we are, either it's something that we're waiting on to kind of like push us into that dating season, or we're looking for somebody to come get us. Like, hello, does anybody see me? Come get me.
No.
Right. I'm interested in knowing, right, what pulled you out of the my priorities are really kind of cemented in work and finances and kind of building up my own solo life, buying houses, buying cars, right? What pulled you out of that and into the dating world? How did you transition?
Yeah, I was actually, it was probably a conversation with my father. And he took me to lunch one day. We were at J. Alexander's. And he asked me, he said, have you tried online dating? To which I was like, this is like 2018. It was not popular and it was still the way I saw it was. Okay. And this is no offense to anyone, but this is just what it was. This is the way I saw it.
Speak your truth, daughter.
This was for older people or divorced people, and I
Dang.
don't want to have anything to do with it. No,
Don't speak
seriously.
your
No,
truth.
that's what it was, but I thought it was for. And it wasn't cool. Like I felt like I would never tell anyone I was ever doing online dating. Like I'm too young to do online dating. Like I should be doing real dating. That's not even real dating. Like in my mind, that's what it was. And so but my father, he was like, you ought to try it because he knew. Because the reality was, number one, I'm very busy, right? I have a lot going on, and I wasn't at a place where I was like gonna give that up. Like I was like, nah, this is what I do. This is my life. Like I want to do this, and so he knew that, and he asked me, and and so he just kind of helped me to unlearn what online dating was. Like it's a tool. Like that's what it was. And he was like, it's just a tool. Like it's just like anything else. And my father's a pastor, so he talks to a ton of people. And he was just like, hey, you should try it. People your age are doing it. You should try it. But we're just not talking about it, but it's happening. So I decided to give it a shot. And that was kind of my entry point into dating at that point. I think that what really moved me there was I was starting to believe that I had done as much as I could with my life by myself. Like
Mhm.
I didn't really know how else to make my life better by myself. Um and I said, I feel like I need a partner to enhance whatever it is, what the remaining what the next years of my life is, because I kind of felt like I hit a ceiling of what Ruth Abigail could do, you know alone. I just
Yeah,
felt like I wasn't going to go much further alone. I needed
yeah,
partnership for that. So that was a little bit of where my mind was. Yeah, because I'm a person who likes to grow. Like that's just who I am. Um,
yeah.
and I think that was a piece of it. I also think like even relationally, like I feel like I have more to give relationally, and I don't know how to do that currently, right? Like, and I feel like it's just the next level. I feel like I'm maximizing everything that I know to maximize right now, relationally
Mhm.
and community, financially, work wise. Like I'm maximizing it, and I think I need more to maximize.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I
No,
was.
that makes sense. I'm wondering, um, as you're thinking through kind of that place that you got to. So you said it was around 2018 when your dad was like, "Hey, we're gonna, I need to pivot you out
Mm-hmm.
of kind of being in this stuck place so
Mm-hmm.
that, and trying something
Yeah.
different
Mm-hmm.
in order to get to the next level of your life."
Mm-hmm.
One, do you think you would have gotten there alone?
Mm-hmm.
And two, do you think that, because again, you have been saying for years up until that point that marriage is coming.
Mm-hmm.
What switched from the idea of I want marriage to I'm ready for marriage?
Good question. Um, I think mm, mm. From I want marriage to I'm ready for marriage. That's a good question. Yeah, I think that was the feeling like I was maximizing what I needed to maximize, and I just felt more. I don't know. I felt like the writing, I think the writing really helped me. And because it helped me to get more emotionally transparent.
Mm.
I think that was a place for me personally where I was stuck, and I didn't know how to do that. And I think for a lot of me, uh, probably delayed dating because I wasn't sure of how to handle myself emotionally. I just wasn't
Yeah.
comfortable. And so writing was kind of a way for me to explore that. And so as I did that and kind of began to understand who internally what was going on with me,
Mhm.
I felt like I was more ready to enter into some sort of, romantic relationship. Um,
Mm.
but I needed to do that. And
Yeah.
and so that was a little bit of a process.
Oh, I really like that. And because, I think that there's just a lot of us have been wanting it, wanting partnership and saying,
Mhm.
Lord, this has to be my year. This has to be it. I know. But what I am finding as I'm talking again with our wonderful middle adult community is that when you look at people's lives as they move from the season of this is my year, this is my year, this is my year, because you
Mm.
did that for like at least 3, 4 years, before the year
Yeah.
finally came.
Sure. Sure.
Um, and you watch people as they go into a season, and it's almost like you can mark it now
Mhm.
when someone is like,
Mm.
oh wait, no, they went from just being in the general assembly to like they're knocking on the door of it now.
Yeah.
Like they were out there in the lobby, now they in the hallway, now they're at the door. And you can start to discern when it's happening for someone.
Mm.
And as I look back at your journey, like I feel like there was a marker. And I think like you doing the blog, I definitely think that that was a moment where it was a transition from this is a deep desire
Mhm.
to this is something that I'm prepared for and
Yeah.
ready to embrace. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and I think, as we're because as we're thinking about who the person is and what characteristics we think they should have, I think what's even more important is who you have become and who
Mhm.
you have and what you have opened yourself up to,
Mhm.
and what process you have allowed yourself to go through
Yeah.
in order to get there. Okay. So talk to me about online dating. Okay. Listen. We're just gonna put it out there. Ruth Abigail knows I'm not the biggest fan of online
She's
dating.
probably the smallest fan that I've
Probably the
met. Yeah.
smallest fan. I
Yeah.
have dabbled,
Yeah.
but every time it's begrudgingly. And
Yeah.
the moment somebody does or says something off, I'm like, you know what? That's why I ain't.
Delete.
I delete. Delete. I don't have time for these shenanigans.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
fooled up with y'all.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll go find me somebody who, I want that old school love. I want that I saw her, or I knew
Lord.
her, we were
Uh-huh.
friends.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I just could not imagine my life without her.
Sure.
And it's hard to see that happening online. All right. So I
Understood.
want you not when you met my brother, but
Oh,
talk
no.
to me about the
Yeah.
experiences prior to.
Well, the experiences prior to were very similar to yours, and my attitude was very similar to yours. I was not really for it. Now, I had another friend who had ventured into that before me, so it was helpful to have somebody who was kind of like in it a little bit, to kind of gauge from some experience.
Mhm.
So, but I didn't dive in like she did. I was very much I was very much on the outskirts, and I really wasn't. I was like, I'm really not. This just feels weird, you know. And it was an experiment. It was experimental. I probably did. There was I like to say I did about 3 rounds of playing around. That's what I did. I the 3 rounds of playing around. I was probably about a month or two, and then I delete it, and then I wait. And then, I did another round, and I would get a little further into a conversation with somebody, or maybe even like, we've moved on to like talking on the phone and like texting or whatever. And then we will, and then I was like, that's no good. That's trash. And then I'm done, right? For a while. And
Mhm.
then, so that pattern, that was my pattern.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until, so I'd actually, there was twice that happened. And then I did enter into a longer situation with somebody that was not from online. And that lasted for a couple of
Ruth
years.
Abigail had a situationship.
I did. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. It's the truth. It's the truth, man. And that lasted for longer than it should have, but it lasted.
We've all been there.
We have, and I appreciate the grace. So and I learned a lot from that, more than I wanted to, but I learned a lot from it, right? And so after that, I went back onto online, and that's when I made a decision to take it seriously.
Okay, can I interject?
Please.
Cuz I want to go back to the situationship.
Okay.
I'm not going to go too deep.
No, it's
but listen. And I speak from experience. That's where a lot of us got stuck.
Man.
A lot of us got stuck right there at
My
the
Lord.
situationship. Because it's a situationship because it refuses to have any permanence, one. But even though it won't give you a resolve, there is something that keeps you attached. It's like Velcro. It doesn't promise any actual power to hold any weight together. Like, Velcro is good to like attach things for a short amount of time.
Correct.
But the moment we put some real weight on it, like Velcro gonna snap, it's gonna snap apart.
Very good analogy.
Right?
Yeah.
And a lot of us have spent a lot of time in Velcro relationships.
My God.
Where it's almost like you are magnetized to each other. And the way that Velcro works is there is an entanglement.
My God.
Which I know was a big word around
yeah.
around the early 2020s, I can't remember what year that was, but it became a thing.
Yeah.
Right? But that's Velcro.
Yeah.
Like Velcro works because the fibers become entangled temporarily. Right? So, but it is easy to settle for the Velcro relationship. It is easy to say, hey, it's not what it needs to be today, but I'm gonna believe that it will become what I want it to be tomorrow. How did you make a resolve to break your? Because I'm not guessing, I kind of know, but but I mean, that ended before your real thing came. Yeah, right. So like it wasn't like the real thing came and pulled you away. And you were like, wait, no, I've been introduced to better, so I'm gonna go with this. You had to end a thing and then have a moment before you were introduced to the real thing.
For sure.
But how did you make a resolve to get out of the Velcro situation?
The short answer for that is community. And
hello, my name is Community.
Okay, all right. I mean, quite literally, a friend, one of our friends just looked me dead in the face, asked me a very pointed, direct question, to which it was like I snapped out of it. It was what it was. So that is just what actually happened. There was a lot of conviction involved. There's a lot of insecurity that I was having to deal with, and that I had to be kind of I had to admit to, right, and deal with in the midst of that. I think the other things were, it came from being honest, right, with myself. But that honesty, even, which is why community was so important. I was honest, but then I would justify. I was honest and then I would justify. I was honest and I would justify. And as long as this was during COVID. This was, so we were all very isolated. I didn't feel alone. I didn't feel that because, I had community, I had y'all, I was good, and I feel like my relationships were established enough to go through that. But this particular situationship was kind of had the life was more prevalent during this time because there was also an opportunity to have a deeper attachment. So I thought, right, when I wasn't forming more attachments. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it presented itself as something that was more substantial than it was, simply because I didn't have a lot going on, right, with my in general relationships. So I was just kind of blinded by that, and blinded by that need. And it just lasts, and so you get used to it. You just get used to it. And it becomes familiar, and it's just easy. And you just fall into stuff, and you just say, "Oh, well, this must be what it is."
Yeah.
Right? And I had to kind of get snapped out of that.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting that you said that, because I didn't even put this together, that this relationship came about during COVID. Because I think that was a time when, as leaders, right, like our productivity was down a little bit. Our busyness had slowed
absolutely.
down,
Yes, it
right?
had.
And so when you're thinking about, the season of life that we were in, as a leader, you're like, I have space and capacity to maybe see someone that wouldn't fit me in my regular season.
It's a really good
but
point.
fits me in the season where I've slowed down.
It's a great point, Quita. It's not even something I've necessarily considered, honestly.
I mean, it just came to me because I too had a situationship during COVID, and like you're sitting there and you ain't got much to do and you're like, this could work.
Yeah. Yeah. That's real.
Like as a leader, you're like, hey,
Yeah.
But the pandemic ended, the quarantine ended. We all went back to our jobs. I still remember the day that school told me we was coming back in June. And I said, y'all gonna kill us.
Yes.
But those situationships also started dwindling when we went back.
Yeah. And just revealing themselves a little bit more. It's like, right. So it's just like, the busier I got, the less healthy it got. Right.
That's so good. And I think, and I really want those who are listening, right? Everybody's had a situationship. And if you haven't had one, you've had a friendship that got a little close. You've had something where you have considered maybe this was it. Consider what season of your life that something came.
Yes, absolutely.
And because we're talking about finding a person that matches all of you. And I think what I've had to realize is that as I'm really trying to, I'm pursuing life right now, right? That's what I'm focused on, not pursuing the idea of having a partner or having anything in particular. I am pursuing life. And as I'm doing that, I am becoming more of the person that someone's going to have to say yes to. And so as I'm thinking about what characteristics I want them to have, I'm becoming the characteristics that they're going to have to give their yes to. And there's areas of our lives where we have held back because we feel like, like for me, before I bought my first house, I always imagined I was going to, buy a house in marriage. Now I'm on house number 2 and I'm like, hey, listen, I'll buy another one. Okay, don't play with me. Okay, I'll buy up the block. All right, you ain't gotta come. All right, I'm gonna own a neighborhood by the time you get here.
Absolutely.
And you're gonna have to match that.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm watching as God has added so much to my life. And so when I think about who fits me, like who would be a good partner for me, it's very different than who I would have felt fit me 2 years ago.
Absolutely.
You get what I'm saying?
No, for sure.
So I think timing is such an important piece of this.
Yeah.
Talk to me. Okay, so we've kind of talked about, single and thriving Ruth Abigail, who was laying the foundation for, her financial identity, her work identity. When did you get your leadership role in Angel Street?
I became the executive director officially in January of 2020.
Girl,
Yeah.
The timeline is crazy.
Yeah,
Right? Right. So you became executive director.
Mm-hmm.
3 months later, it's a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Situationship.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
Uh-huh.
they haven't even really seen you in ED mode.
Oh, no. And that the situationship started a little bit before that, starting like 2019. Actually
Yeah.
started, yeah. But yeah, no. Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. Not
Right.
at all.
Okay. So we get convicted. We
Uh-huh.
realize I've been in a daze.
Mm-hmm.
This is not actually who I'm looking for or
Mm-hmm.
what I'm looking for. And so I'm guessing then we go back to online dating.
Yeah. So I will say that there was, yes, went back to online dating. I actually I gotta say this because this was important. Let me say this too to the and as a leader, one of the things that I had to I was making the mistake of doing was allowing someone else to determine what he wanted how he wanted me to be. And
Speak on it.
with the situationship, right? So like I was bending to what he would have preferred me to be as opposed to who I really was as a leader.
Yeah.
And that was causing me an unhealthy duality inside of me, which literally began to manifest itself physically because of anxiety. And I lost a ton of weight as a result of it. Like
I never put that together.
that, I lost a lot of weight. Like I was just not physically healthy, right? As a result of it, because I was trying to meet the expectations of somebody outside of who I was, particularly as a leader. So
Wow.
yeah, I just saw it just to nope. Anybody that you are dealing with will not just accept you for the totality of who you are, particularly
Mhm.
if you are someone who has leadership responsibilities, but they will cultivate it and they will celebrate it. And if that's not happening, then it probably is not a good idea to continue with that, because
Wow.
you should not, I do not believe that anybody should let go of who they have, who God has put them in the path to become for the
Mhm.
sake of somebody else's preference. And
Wow.
just to be with them, right? Or
Yeah.
just that's just not healthy. And so I found myself having to do that, and it was a wrestle internally that manifested itself
Wow.
externally. And so
Wow.
yeah.
No, and I think that's so key, because when we're thinking about, when we say the word leader, we're not talking about a position, right? Like this is a piece of who we are. This is how we show up in the places
And
that we're
any
called
just
to.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, there's a sacrifice there. All right, I want to get to happier times. So I
Let's do
want to
that.
shift. I think that conversation was necessary, because again, to my sister or my brother who's stuck in that situationship, and you are looking for, your reason to leave, and you're looking for your reason to go seek what's for you. I want you to believe that there's better, right? And it all happens in God's timing. All
Amen.
right, let's talk about God's timing. All right.
Let's do
So
that.
we transition out of that thing. All right. We're out of there. Right. And so we're back on the dating apps.
We're back on them.
We're
We're
back
back
on
on
the
them.
dating apps. All right.
Yep.
And you come across the profile.
Yep.
Right. That you almost swipe past.
Well,
Talk to
okay,
us
all right.
about it.
So let me say this. I got back on the dating app, but I got back on with a different intention. I got back on to simply get to know people. I really did treat it as almost like an adventure. And I was just like, hey, I'm just gonna I didn't necessarily go in the same way I did before with like, ooh, I might find the person. I honestly didn't. I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? I'm just gonna talk to folk because, quite frankly, asking people questions and learning about them. So I'm just gonna do that.
Oh, so this is where the podcast was birthed, on the
Not at
dating
all,
app?
not at all. But I had kind of been in this mode through some work I was doing in the community where I was asking a lot of questions, getting to know people, all this stuff. I said, I'm just gonna transfer that to here and just do that same thing. And that's what I did. So I also said I was gonna present myself as my whole self.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna curate myself very much.
Hmm.
And I didn't. And I put up pictures of myself in a t-shirt, and yeah, that's, and a t-shirt I probably would go to sleep in, right? Like it wasn't even a cute t-shirt. It was just a regular old t-shirt.
I
And I
just
put
want to
myself
make it
up.
known I never saw these pictures.
You didn't. And I didn't want you to, because I knew you would judge me. So and I put it, I put pictures of myself in a professional setting. I put pictures of myself having fun with, like, and so that was different. I was much more curated before. So I didn't do that. And I didn't really pay that much attention to how good the pictures looked, quite frankly. I wanted to make sure I looked good, but the picture itself wasn't, like, the quality of the picture wasn't as important. Like, I really had these thoughts. I said, I'm gonna cut all that and I'm just gonna be me. And I
Mm-hmm.
also decided that I was going to have certain kind of guidelines to how I was going to do this. And so
Okay.
one of my guidelines was I was going to respond to anybody who messaged me. And that was what I wasn't going to ignore them. And so anyway, that's kind of how, and so anybody who messaged me, I was going to respond to. So yes, I would come home and just go through what's been happening on my phone, because I didn't really pay attention during the day. And I went through and I saw a profile. I was like, hey, you never know out here. I'm a Christian. I'm a believer. And we at least need to start off there. We might not end up there, but let's start there. You know what I'm saying? Because, I don't know what folk out here doing. And I said, I need that to be on their profile. Right. And then
Mm-hmm.
there was a couple other things I said. So I'll go through, see a profile. It had matched with me. And it checked the boxes except for the Christian box. It just, nothing was there. It didn't say another religion. It didn't say like non-religious or anything. It just said, it just was blank. Well, okay, so I'm gonna swipe against it. I was like, that didn't fall into well, I really did literally swipe the wrong way. That is not an exaggeration. I actually swiped the wrong way. Next thing I know, I was like, oh crap. And I was like, well, probably no, literally within 5 minutes, he messages me. And I was like, oh man. And so now my other guideline, you're supposed to talk to anybody who messages you. Don't blow him off. So I said, I'm gonna follow my guideline. That's what I
Okay.
did. And so we just got to talking, and we just started talking. And it was one of the more robust conversations, and it had a little bit of depth towards it in the beginning. And so yeah, we just started talking, and a couple days later we talked on the phone, and I think we've actually talked every day since for the last 4 years.
That's so oh, that
There you
is
go.
so beautiful.
Yes, yes,
Right?
yes.
Okay, so talk to me about, because here's where I get stuck. All right, I get stuck just opening the dating app, just to be clear. Um, I mean, I just
Sure.
like, yuck,
Uh-huh.
why
Uh-huh.
am I
Uh-huh.
here? But talk to me about the transition from talking on the dating app to then talking in person.
Um, the thing is, it was just like talking to anybody. Like, you just have conversations. So we were just intentional. And I would say that he was pursuant. Like, so I wasn't sitting around. I wasn't doing much pursuing. He was doing it. But I was responding, and not just responding surfacely. Like, I was just kind of responding, with a little depth, and he would respond back with a little depth, with help, which helps. And so we just started talking, and I think we set up a date couple weeks after we started talking. It was nothing. It was nothing, you know, it wasn't that involved. Like, it wasn't like, it just was the next step. Um
Mhm.
and I think that that his posture, I think the thing that I appreciated about him, and this kind of speaks to the leader part a little bit, because I that's the other thing that's like, I'm going to be, before when I was doing the online dating, I wouldn't be totally upfront about what I did for a living. Because I didn't want anybody to be intimidated. And so I didn't put that out there. I think I said I just work with kids or whatever, but I put executive director. I put that on the thing. And so, because I was like, I'm not going to play these games anymore. And so, when he and I started talking, like when I would share with him what I was doing, he was more curious than anything else. He was just asking a bunch of questions because he was like, I don't know anything about this. And so we just started talking about it, right? The other thing that I appreciated about him was his curiosity about my family. My father's a pastor of a large church. That was also something that I was I just was cautious about, because I was cautious about it for all the reasons you could think I would be cautious about it. Okay.
Yeah, you can't just bring anybody up into the mix.
No, and I particularly didn't want anybody to be enamored by it. Like, I never want that. It's like, nobody wants that.
No, that would not have worked for you.
Not at all. And so he wasn't. He was like, oh, okay. He was almost nonchalant. I was like, well, I mean, it's not a small deal. Like,
yeah, like, hey, mention his name around Memphis, see what happens.
But that actually that was attractive to me, because I was like, he is obviously not intimidated by that at all, nor is he overly excited about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he just was what it was. So he's
kind of like you.
Exactly. Just asked questions, right? And was just curious more than anything. And that to me, as crazy, that was in the first conversation. All this happened in the first phone conversation. What that told me was, as a leader, that he understood leadership to some degree. Like, he was not overly impressed. And that's important, because I didn't want anyone to be, I don't need to partner with somebody who's impressed with me. I need to partner with somebody who's going to push me, which means you must see that I can go further. And that was, so like, that first step was like, he's not impressed. I like that. I like that he's not impressed. I like that there's no, he's just like, okay, cool. That's what you do. That's cool. Anyway, so that was helpful for me.
So that's really good. I'm starting to understand, because I feel like, we go in, the list, has become a thing. Sierra,
Oh, yes. Oh,
give us the list. Give us the list of the qualities that you're looking for, right? But to me, it kind of sounds like, in your kind of development of y'all's relationship and understanding of each other, you were discovering the things you needed versus going in saying, all right, he has to X, Y, and Z in order for me to know that this is the one.
You said something in the beginning that I wanted to kind of not push back on, but just like maybe push back on. I don't know. But I just different than what you expressed. So like, I would say that the older I got, the smaller my list became. And like, you know what I'm saying? Because I started to say, what's really the most important things about a person, and bump all that other stuff. Like, I don't, that stuff. And so the biggest thing that I think, as we continued in our relationship and I got to know him more, and I used to tell him this, like, I want to focus on the things that can't change about a person. So, or that won't change about a person, who the values they have, the core of that person. We talk so much, especially as women, about how much a man makes, what he looks like, what his status in life is, what he does for a living, all those things that could change like that overnight. It could be everything that you might like could be gone, and everything he doesn't have, he could get in a span of 24 hours. So I think that if it fell into a category of something that could change, I just didn't pay much attention to it. And I really just paid attention to the core of a person. And does his core match my core? And can we rock with that? Because we are different. We were in different places in life. He was just moving to the city. He was just moving back to Memphis. So he wasn't as established as I was. He was kind of, he was figuring his life out to some degree. Yeah. And I had figured a lot of my life out. Like, and so that, I think, in the culture would have been, oh, no, girl, you don't need that. You need to find somebody who XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. And it's like, I mean, I could have, I could have listened to that and I would still be single today. And so that, but I just didn't have that mindset. And I attribute that a lot to my mother. But I just didn't have that mindset. And I was like, I don't so much care about that, because that could change. It will change. Also, you have to know that, because the core of something about my husband I really appreciate is his desire to grow. We both have that very much in common. I knew that just based on conversation and a little bit of observation in the beginning. If you have a desire to grow, I know you won't be here long, because that's not your desire for yourself. Yeah. It ain't about me. It's about you. One of the things that he told me that I thought was also key was, he said, God, I've been on this journey. God has put me on this journey, this growth journey. And then I met you in the middle of it. To me, that says to me, this man is going to grow with or without me. I'm not the reason for it. And I believe God sent me in the middle of it to come alongside, right? Yeah. As a helper, as we are. And so that process started even before we were married. And you kind of could tell, like, hey, this is an ordained situation because of how we came into it. And so that those were just some key things that just stuck out to me. And this was all within a month. This was not long. And just some key, conversations we had, just phrases that I would hear over and over again. And it just made me more willing to keep going.
What, as you were kind of going through, and it's, because dating is collecting data, yes, right? And so, like, you're kind of talking us through, like, how you really was collecting, like, the key points. How do you go from that data collection point to that decision point where you're like, I'm cementing my yes to this person? Like, I know this is the one, and I'm cementing this.
Some of it, that's a good question. I think his certainty helps. It's not a one-sided conversation. It's a two-sided one. So if you're the only one having a conversation, that's a red flag. Yeah. And so, but he also initiated it. He's always been the initiator of the forward movement of our relationship. Somebody told me this earlier. A friend of mine, who also was married in her earlier 30s, said that somebody told her this advice, that men set the direction and women set the pace of a relationship, which I really liked. And I really felt like that was really a good way to look at it. And I do feel like that was our story, is he was clear on the direction pretty quickly. It's not that I wasn't clear, but I didn't jump with both feet in the way he did. I was much more cautious. So I set the pace and he allowed me to do that. Yeah. If it was up to him, we'd have been married about within a year. And that, I was not ready for that. Like, I was like, nah, I need a little bit more time. And I don't know that it was really so much whether it was him or not, as much as was I ready for my life to shift like that. And that was where most of my thinking was, like, my life it's about to shift dramatically, because I realize how focused I've been on certain things, where my natural tendency is, and now introduces a whole other person. Hey, that is my life is going to change. And I don't know if I'm ready for that just yet. So So anyway, he set the direction and I was able to set the pace, and that was a healthy way for us to really manage that, and it gave me the opportunity to more so get myself together
Yeah.
than anything else. I think I knew it was I probably, if I'm honest, probably knew it was him pretty early on. Like I didn't, because I didn't date a lot. And because I didn't date a lot, I didn't really have, I knew who I was. I didn't date a whole lot. And so I'm actually grateful for that, because I realized, and you and I have talked about this a little bit, I didn't have a whole lot of baggage to unpack. When I didn't. Like
No,
when it
I'm
came.
laughing at the unpack word.
Oh, yes. I didn't have a lot of baggage to unpack when it came to making this connection with him. And I think that helped me to make my I was clear, right? I wasn't I was just, it was clearer. The decision was clearer. So I appreciated that opportunity, and I think that was an upside. I mean, there's a downside to maybe not dating a whole lot, but there was an upside, and that was one of them. It was like, hey, I can kind of go into this with fresh eyes, not doing a whole lot of comparing, like, and really see this man for who he is, and not see him as men, but see him as a man, which is very different. And
Whoa, wait a minute. Don't slide past that. Say it again.
okay, all right. All right. I was able to see him as a man and not men. Right. And that helped me to be more focused on those values and the core and all this stuff, as opposed to saying, well, all these other men, he should be like all of them. Right. And it's not. Something else that I did that I'm just realizing that was really helpful is when we started, when it became serious, I stopped following most accounts that talked about dating on Instagram and all that. I didn't, I was following a few of them. You would tell me some and I would follow them. It would be, we'd listen to these people. And I stopped following them because I found myself measuring him up against everything they were saying.
Wow.
And I was like, this is not healthy, because they don't know him, and I'm not going to do that to him.
Wow.
So I stopped following these people.
Wow. You're making me feel like a lot of women, I don't know about men because I'm not a man, but you're making me feel like a lot of women may be missing their blessings simply because of what we're expecting the package to look like. And because of what we've been told. I mean, there's a lot of wisdom out there, right? But there's also a lot of assumptions and a lot of formulas that, baby, if we was able to get a formula and run with it, we all would be married right now. If the formulas work, right? But, I think that there's just this misconception or this ideology, especially with Black women, that there are not enough good Black men, right? That there is a shortage.
Yeah.
And that we're not gonna find good ones, right? And I think that maybe in some respects there are areas where we need to open. Ty would be so proud of me. Please be sure to show him this short 30 seconds, just this clip. Like, I do think that there are areas and ways that we can be more open. I do also think, in saying that, like, you got to know who you are, right? And you got to know what's going to work for you. And one thing that you always say, Ruth Abigail, that has really stuck with me is that you were looking for someone who fit not your public life but your private life.
Yes. Yeah.
And as leaders, we are very public facing, right? And there are a lot of people who will say, oh, Jaquita, she's amazing. I love her. She's da-da-da-da-da. She's go, 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 go. Well, when I'm at home,
Man.
I might look at you like, I ain't got it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I've been Energizer Bunny all day. And so you're looking for someone that fits you. And I think one of the things when I noticed when I first met Ty, like, I just had no doubt. I never had any doubt that this was the person for my best friend. Like I was like, he's it. This is it. And it's like when you see y'all together, when I remember at the wedding, I was just like, when God's hand was on something, because everyone was just the level of excitement and enthusiasm that people had, people who didn't even know Ty or people who didn't know you. Like we were all just like, this is the Lord's doing. And it was just, we were all just so sure of it. And I like that, as we're talking about, what characteristics should we, as I know we've been talking about the perspective of single women, but surely there are some single men out there as well who are and I don't want to isolate y'all.
Sure.
Because we all want, most of us want that. We want companionship, we want relationship, we want family to some degree. And as we're thinking about what that looks like, I'm glad that we didn't come on here and give a list. Like, I'm glad that we didn't say, hey, if you're a leader, you need to find somebody that's going to push you. But I want us to start thinking about it as a journey. And the journey begins with yourself, growth, with your self-actualization, your self-realization. And then it transitions to the space of being open to find who's actually for you. Right. And maybe you don't know everything that person's going to come with.
No,
not
you
maybe,
definitely don't.
actually, probably.
You do not.
It's actually very likely
You absolutely
that
will not.
you don't know everything that person is going to come with. So yes, write the list, right? I'm not against the list. Write the vision, make it plain. I'm not against the list. But also know you don't know everything that you need.
Can I also say about the list, and I think this is also important, and particularly for leaders, because a lot of us are driven, and and we kind of, our lives are kind of managed by lists anyway. Like we kind of live by the list. I think we have to remember that the list may not be fulfilled before you say I do. And you have to know that list a lot of times is cultivated by the partner. I heard somebody say that what, and I've been guilty of this, but it's really easy to compare somebody you're dating to somebody who's been married for 30 years. Whether maybe it's a mentor you have, maybe it's a pastor, maybe it's your parent, and we say, well, he doesn't do this or she doesn't do that. And, my pastor said this, and this is how he is, or this is what my dad says, this is what my mom says, this is what they do for me, XYZ. And it's like, you got to understand, that man, that woman was not that way before they met the person they're with. They didn't meet them like that.
Yeah.
And I would dare say that there are some things on their list that were fulfilled in their partnership.
That's so good.
Right? And not
That's so
they didn't
good.
just come complete, because you're not going to come complete.
Yeah.
And that's on either side. And I think it's
trying
important
to compare your year 1 to their year 40.
It doesn't, you cannot do that.
Yeah, you can't do that.
You cannot do that. And understand that the reason they got to that, the reason what you like in them is the fruit of their partnership. So
that's good.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like there are things in me that have grown as a result of being married to my husband, who pulled that out of me, and I would not be who I am without him, and vice versa.
And we thank him.
Okay. Yes, we do, because I am better. I'm better. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I don't know about all that.
More thoughtful.
Whatever.
Ty's very thoughtful.
He's very thoughtful. Yeah. And I'm really trying to get there. But I just think that's important for us to realize as we're making these lists. Like, that's great, but just know that everything on your list, some of that may be what you're supposed to help him become, or help her become. It doesn't mean that the list is irrelevant. It just means you may not see it in its complete form until you take the leap. And there are some things that are are core, right? And then there are some things that have to be cultivated. And
Yeah.
that you have to the discernment and wisdom. But I think as leaders, it's important to kind of not put too much not put too much weight on that list, because I think you will find yourself nobody's gonna get there. Nobody's gonna be good enough for that. Yeah.
And I think we have to get to a point where we're not simply evaluating people against a list, but we're really taking a step back and getting to know them.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And Ruth always tells me to be curious,
Yes.
which it's not one of my core themes.
It's
But I do think that, like, when it comes to getting to know people, you have to have a level of you have to when we evaluate people against a list, right? We're seeing, how do you fit my ideal, right? When we allow people to show us who they are, right? We give them space to uncover and reveal who they are, versus trying to, like you were saying earlier, trying to become something that they think they're supposed to be for us.
Yeah.
So Ruth, I want to, just kind of final thoughts as you're thinking about, yourself now. You've been married 2 years, 2 wonderful years, to my wonderful brother, whom I love very much. Um, and as you are thinking through kind of like things that now on the other side of marriage that have cemented, I made the right choice, right? What are some of those things that you would say have solidified that statement? I made the right choice.
That's
What are the
good.
characteristics that now on the other side of it that verify your yes?
I would say characteristics would be key humility, teachability. I would say I don't know, but I can't get to a characteristic, but I have never felt more free to lead. There's a lot of freedom that I feel to be a leader than I have since I've been married, or since I've been with Ty, right?
Wow.
Because he has demanded that I do what I'm called to do. Like, it's not even an option,
Wow.
Yeah. And he makes all the space for me to do that. I mean, it's,
Wow.
not almost 10 o'clock and I'm doing this podcast. He's in the kitchen cooking. And he's, he might text me like, hey, when you want me to drop your fries? Like, what I'm saying? Like, it's stuff like that,
That's beautiful.
that's just like, he knows. And I got home probably around 7, right? And like, so I haven't like, I've been this is work. I mean, I've been working all day, right? And he gives me space to do that. Not just gives me, demands it of me, because he sees who I'm created to be. And it makes me want to go harder in that. And it also makes me want to do the same for him. And so that's our dynamic, right? And I think I can't name a characteristic, but that is one of the things that helped me to cement the yes. I think his commitment to growth. I mean, I have seen this man become the husband he has wanted to be.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And I think he would say the same of me, or is it trying to. I personally think he's done a better job than I have. But don't agree with that. Don't shake your head.
I tried not to.
I see that.
But the nod came.
Wow. My gosh. No, I do though. I really think I think that and he would tell me I'm wrong, but he's not here, so he doesn't get to say it. So I feel like
You're a great wife.
I am learning. God knows I'm learning. But I've seen him become the man he wants to be, and who he has, like he said he wants to be. And that's a testament to his commitment to growth. And like I said, that was something I saw within the first couple of times we talked, and it's manifested even more. And So yeah, I think those are some of the things that that have cemented the yes.
That's good, man. That's good. And I think that that solidifies we are not just looking for, like a arbitrary list of good characteristics, right? We are looking for the person that we can travel through life with. That's going
Mhm.
to push us to move forward together into God's best.
Amen.
Right? All right. I love that. I
Yeah, yeah,
love
yeah.
that. What a fantastic time, friends. Okay.
Ah,
Everybody give it up for Ruth Abigail, all right, who came out out of her comfort zone. Okay. She's normally on the other side of this, always asking people the questions, but today
yeah.
she got grilled.
Yeah.
Okay. And I had a
Yeah.
good time
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
it.
yeah,
All
yeah,
right, so
yeah.
listen, y'all, if you have not done so already, right, we on here giving y'all our transparent life
Lord,
stories,
too transparent.
okay, for the betterment of the people. Okay, we do it for the people. If you have not already liked, shared, or subscribed, please do one, if not all of the three, okay? Like the post, share it with a friend, go ahead and join the fam, okay? Get in on this, get in on the movement, okay? While we still, you know what I'm saying, we still at the low price. Okay. When we popping for real, all right. Don't come talking about we cost too much then. Okay. When you can get in now for free. All
That's right.
right. Like, share, subscribe. We really want you to be a part of this. All right. And friends, I just want to thank y'all for joining the journey. Okay. Let's keep unlearning together so that we can experience more freedom. Peace, y'all.